Ezekiel 38:17 through 39:16. Devotional Focus Verse. So will I make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let them pollute my holy name any more. And the heathen shall know that I am the Lord, the Holy One in Israel. Ezekiel 39:7. In many societies around the world, honoring the family name is of great importance and a required duty. The clans of Scotland, which date back to the 12th century, are one example. Traditionally, clan members were expected to uphold the honor of the clan name by behavior that would win the approval of the clan chief. Recently, a conflict over the use of a particular Scottish name made the news. The Chicago Tribune carried a story about a call to arms issued by Lord Godfrey James Macdonald, head of the Scottish clan that includes all spellings of that name. Lord Macdonald was seeking support for a fellow Scot who was being threatened with legal action by the hamburger chain McDonald's because she had named her small sandwich shop outside of London McMunchies. Representatives of the burger chain asserted that MC was a registered trademark of the company and that the shop owner's use of those letters was illegal because it might cause the public to think the shop was a part of the McDonald's corporation. One of the supporters of the shop owner, also a McDonald, wrote to the hamburger chain informing the company that its action was an insult to millions of Scots. He then met with Lord Macdonald, and they set up an association named Guardians of the Clan MacDonald. Its stated purpose was to uphold the honor and dignity of the clan name, as well as give moral support to the sandwich shop owner. Though the fierce protectiveness of the MacDonald clan regarding their name might seem somewhat humorous to us, there is one name that we must regard with utmost respect and honor, the name of God. While names are esteemed for many reasons, only His name is holy. In Jewish tradition, a name is not merely an arbitrary designation or a random combination of sounds. It conveys the nature and essence of the one named. Thus, to honor the name of God is to reverence His character and indicate that He is regarded with absolute devotion and loving admiration. Through the ages of time, God has defended His name to individuals, kings, and nations. Today's text tells of a time when He will defend His name to the nations of the world that will gather to fight against Israel. God's chosen people have polluted His name, but according to our focus verse, when He makes His holy name known in their midst, both Israel and all those who have opposed that nation will know He is the one true God. Until that day comes, we too have a responsibility toward the name of God. It should have a position of honor and unique significance in our minds and hearts. We should never take His name lightly, but always uphold and reverence it in word and deed. Background information. This portion of text from Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39 continues the prophecy against a confederacy of nations that will attack Israel in the end time, and reveals the manner in which God's honor will be vindicated. Verse 17 of chapter 38 begins with the phrase, "Thus saith the Lord God," emphasizing that this message was from God rather than Ezekiel. Ezekiel himself likely did not understand fully the scope of what he was saying, nor how the words his fellow prophets had spoken in old time harmonized with his narrative. This verse indicates that he was not personally forecasting the future. He was merely relating what God said. Verses 18 through 19 indicate that when the nations gather against Israel, it will draw God's profound anger. The words, "My fury shall come up in my face," are particularly emphatic in describing his ire when enemy armies set foot in Israel. As a result of his wrath, the Lord will personally intervene to defeat the armies of Gog and Magog. There is no mention of Israel fighting back, but only of God fighting for Israel through the elements he created: a mighty earthquake, hailstones, fire and brimstone, overflowing rain, and an enemy fighting against itself. These are all echoes of past events in the Bible, but will be greater in magnitude and scope than ever before as the Lord defeats the enemies of his people in this battle. The first 16 verses of chapter 39 continue the description of the utter destruction of Gog and Magog, an annihilation so terrible that only a small remnant of their army will survive. Verses 9 through 12 indicate that all their weaponry will be destroyed. The fact that it will take 7 years to burn the weapons signifies the totality of the Lord's victory and the completion of his plan to vindicate his name. The 7 months needed to bury the dead reinforce the finality of the victory. According to verse 11, Gog and the accompanying forces will be buried in Israel. Early Bible commentators translated east of the sea as the East Sea, in reference to what we know as the Sea of Galilee. The valley of Hamon Gog is thought to be slightly to its east. Commentator Adam Clarke agrees with this location. Verses 13 through 16 pertain to the burial of the dead and reflect adherence to Levitical guidelines in the disposal of dead bodies, in keeping with Jewish cultural and religious norms. The phrase "cleanse the land" is further indication of the importance of purity, which will motivate Israel to treat even their worst enemies with respect in this disposing of the remains of the dead. Conclusion: as we honor God's name today, he will help us live so our lives glorify him.
Thus saith the Lord God, Art thou he of whom I have spoken in old time by my servants the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days many years that I would bring thee against them? And it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord God, that my fury shall come up in my face. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken, surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. So that the fishes of the sea, and the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the field, and all creeping things that creep upon the earth, and all the men that are upon the face of the earth, shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, saith the Lord God, every man's sword shall be against his brother. And I will plead against him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain upon him, and upon his bands, and upon the many people that are with him, an overflowing rain, and great hailstones, fire, and brimstone. Thus will I magnify myself, and sanctify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am the Lord. Ezekiel chapter 39. Therefore, thou son of man, prophesy against Gog, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. And I will turn thee back, and leave but the sixth part of thee, and will cause thee to come up from the north parts, and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. And I will smite thy bow out of thy left hand, and will cause thine arrows to fall out of thy right hand. Thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel, thou, and all thy bands, and the people that is with thee. I will give thee unto the ravenous birds of every sort, and to the beasts of the field to be devoured. Thou shalt fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, saith the Lord God. And I will send a fire on Magog, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am the Lord. So will I make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let them pollute my holy name any more, and the heathen shall know that I am the Lord, the Holy One in Israel. Behold, it is come, and it is done, saith the Lord God, this is the day whereof I have spoken. And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth, and shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows and the arrows, and the handstaves, and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years. So that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any out of the forests, for they shall burn the weapons with fire, and they shall spoil those that spoiled them, and rob those that robbed them, saith the Lord God. And it shall come to pass in that day, that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of the passengers on the east of the sea, and it shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there shall they bury Gog and all his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Hamburger. And 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying of them, that they may cleanse the land. Yea, all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renown the day that I shall be glorified, saith the Lord God. And they shall sever out men of continual employment, passing through the land to bury with the passengers those that remain upon the face of the earth, to cleanse it, after the end of 7 months shall they search. And the passengers that pass through the land, when any seeth a man's bone, then shall he set up a sign by it, till the buriers have buried it in the valley of Hamburger. And also the name of the city shall be Hamana. Thus shall they cleanse the land,